Howdy, y'all. Welcome back to another episode of Season 3 of How Can It Be with Allie Johnson and
Kara Johnson.
you guys, seriously, welcome back.
Howdy, one could say.
Something that's funny is Kara is always going to come here wearing an awesome outfit and she's going to be wearing minimal makeup and her hair is going to pretty much look the exact same every single time.
Okay.
Then I'm going to come here full beat on my face, okay? And my hair done most of the time.
Except for Allie's hair is
and
a little
then I'm going to be
sick today.
completely in sweats and also slippers. So just kind of like, you get the best of both worlds.
Or sometimes she'll come and she's wearing like a very cute shirt, but like pajama pants with it.
That's so true. And that's all about
But the good thing is,
keeping a
here's
secret.
the thing, is you would just actually never really know that you're out wearing only sweats because you just look like you're wearing like a casual, like cute shirt that also happens to potentially be Dad's.
Of course, this was our father's.
Yeah. But we're both giving like if you're just looking at our shirts,
Casual.
yeah, it's giving like sweet.
Yeah, it is giving that. Speaking of giving, once upon a time there was this man, and he gave everything for us. And our whole podcast is actually about glorifying him. Yeah, so it's true.
That was one of the sweetest things you probably ever could have said.
Thank you so much. And it's just
So
kind of
should
all
we.
about glorifying him in the everyday good, the bad, and the in-between. It's so true. It couldn't be truer.
And yeah.
Yeah. Okay, seriously?
Let's get this started.
Yeah, seriously. We start most of our episodes out the same way, but other times we just don't.
And most of the time we talk about literally who even knows what for the first few seconds, and then we get started.
You just got to see. Hope you loved it. But seriously, welcome in and get a little comfy or whatever, or keep folding your laundry or whatever else the heck you're doing, and just know that we're gonna be doing something called Jesus Moments right now. It's just where we talk about a little way we've seen Christ in our life the last week or so. And Peaks gets to start.
So hey there. And today mine's going to be like a little simple, like good news kind of thing. And it's this. Get a little ready.
Pause really quick. You have one hair over there. Just go for it one more time. It's insane that it's just still staying right there. This is insane. It's fixed.
And yeah. So anyway, back to the
Yep.
Okay, here we go. So, no idea what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Okay, yes. Good news, little moment.
Yeah.
Okay. The thing that's been ruling and destroying my life the past 2 weeks, well, the past, 2 months, but mostly the past 2 weeks when I really locked in, was getting my CNA, also known as Certified Nurse Assistant, also known as the actual certification for that, also known as I had to take a whole course. And then do clinicals, and then take the class exam, which I had to do 2 clinicals and the exam this past week. And it was making me feel like that, you know? Anyway, passed the exam on Saturday. I was in the class from 8 a.m. to 5:30 p.m., took the exam at the end, got a 97%. And here's what I have to say really quick. Was this past week actually HE double hockey sticks? Yes, it was. Okay? Terrible. Thought I wasn't going to survive it. You know, one of those things. But at the end of the day,
it's the end of the day. I'm so sorry about that.
And thank you so much for saying that.
Oh, people just saw the top of my head. Anyways, back to you.
Guys, I'm so sorry about this episode so far. So sorry about it. Really need in. Starting now. Okay, go. All right. So, something about this is, even when it's hard and there's a million things going on, like all these things I had to have going on, I didn't ever fall asleep at the wheel, which I really thought I was going to, because all of these places I had to go to were about an hour away, and it was early in the morning at 5 o'clock I was driving. So, I stayed awake. I got through it all. And that's something that continues to be proven to me throughout life. Is that those times where I'm like, literally, I don't know how I'm gonna do this week, and it seems so overwhelming and daunting. And sometimes this week my prayers were also not the best. I was feeling a little down, But I would still pray. And that's what's important. And I said to my roommate, I was like, my prayers are kind of being like this right now. And they're being like, God, I still believe in you. And I believe in Jesus. And I trust in your plan. And I love you. And I'm praying to you because I want to keep my relationship with you. But I'm feeling so overwhelmed and like everything sucks right now. So please just help me in whatever way you can. And then I would fall asleep. And here's the thing, sometimes that happens. Sometimes I have great long prayers and I am able to thank God for all that he's given me. And other times I'm like barely surviving, but I want to make sure that he still knows that I'm thinking of him. And I think it's so important to never to try our best to not get mad at God when things aren't going our way. But to just remember that maybe it's part of life and trust in the process, and it's okay if we're upset and angry and stressed and overwhelmed, but to just try to not let that wreck our relationship with God. And so that was like something a little sweet this week that I good news, passed the exam with flying colors and saw God's hand in my life and tried to remember to make him a part of my life, even though it was a little hard.
That's so brave and so proud of you for passing that. Still super proud. Wow.
Thanks, girl.
It's really awesome.
That's a little nice.
And yeah, that is great. And it is crazy when we look back and we can just see all the ways that God was involved in our life and did help us through. Even when sometimes it feels like in the middle of it, you're not okay. Nothing's fine. And you'll never survive it. And maybe life is still hard, but
yeah,
if anything, the little victories along the way remind us of the big victory that's promised for us at the end, which is getting to be with God again and getting to live a life free of pain and sorrows and struggles. So, yeah, that's really great. Super happy for you, girl.
Thank you so much.
You're super welcome.
So probably now you should share your Jesus moment or something good news or something.
Okay, here's my Jesus moment. So my boyfriend Cam, hopefully you guys remember about him. He's a sweetie pie. He has a dog and her name is Missy.
And guys, she's a princess.
She's
just
a
in case anyone was
princess
wondering.
and we love her so much. Something about her. Girl's got anxiety. Girl's got maybe the worst anxiety I've ever seen in a dog in all my days. It's literally a crazy experience. So lately, that's been manifesting itself on walks outside. And we try to take her outside and she just she loves it actually for I would say about the first 3 minutes. And then she realizes she can't see her house, but what she can see is men, which she hates and is afraid of, kids, which she loathes and is afraid of, and wheels. Wheels on bikes, wheels on cars, wheels on suitcases that people are going on a walk around with a suitcase, wheels on wheelbarrows. What gives? I've never seen so many wheels in all my life until, I'm with a dog that's terrified of wheels. That's perfect, okay? So it's been really making us question, me and Cam, when we take her on walks, if we love her still kind of situation. So
and that's
really tricky because ultimately we do love her so much. And we get back inside of the house and she's like, happy, happy, happy. When 3 seconds ago she was trying to escape out of her harness and run into the street.
Which really adds up at the end of the day.
Here's the crazy part about it. She is so afraid of the unknown. And she's not been trained how to go on walks. When she was born as a little puppy, she was born in a winter that was so cold. And so the only time she ever went outside was when they were potty training her and to go to the bathroom. So she knows how to do that, but she never went on walks as a puppy. And that's normally when dogs get trained that, like, oh, you have to walk by your person, and as a puppy, the puppy's looking up to the adult or to the human that's with them for everything that they do. Like, oh, I'm going to walk over here. I'm going to look over here first, you know? Now, Missy, she's a big girl. She's 2 years old. She thinks she knows everything. So she goes outside on these walks, and all that she knows is in the past, when she pulls and fights for her life the entire walk, she always ends up back home, safe and alive. And so that's all that she knows and all that she tries to do. So we've been trying to train her and do these certain things to regain her trust. And so she looks to us first instead of looking at the scary men, kids, and wheels outside. And the main thing about it that comes to mind about this is actually something that I heard yesterday at church. Somebody talked about this whole idea of the best things in life being built, not born into. And I just think that so often in life, we have to really consider, right? Like, that we're given so much right as we're born, right? A lot of us are fortunate enough to be born into families that can afford the everyday necessities, and homes with hopefully two parents, and whatever guaranteed happiness is that we are born and privileged enough to experience are things that we grow to expect a little bit. So I think whatever you grew up without, though, it's really hard to resonate with that or feel like you get that. And I think about that within, like, Christ's gospel and with what we know about Christ. I think so many of us are like Missy, and we're just doing what we know how. And we forget that the best things in life are oftentimes built, not born into. And so just because we feel like, oh, well, this is how it's always been for me, like, oh, I've never had a connection with God my whole life, like, and my life is fine. Like, and for Missy, oh, like, I've never not pulled and choked myself out with my own leash and collar my entire walk. So, like, this is what works for me. This is, like, how I should keep doing it so that I get home safe at the end of the night and so I survive. But I think we forget that, like, God wants us to do more than just survive. He wants us to thrive and to be happy. And he reminds us every day that that's something that can be built for us. We can grow and establish a connection with a living Father and build that and build upon our connection with him every day. And I just think that that's so fun to think of, like, especially in the times where it feels like, oh, we just have to accept what we've been given or what we were born into or how our dog walks, you know? And the reality of it is, like, we have so much more say in how things end up working out for us in the end. And hopefully we can all experience that. Like, hopefully Missy can learn how to walk and enjoy it instead of being terrified.
I think it's a really good, like, kind of analogy on life, and that lots of times, like you were saying, that she kind of needs to learn how to look up and, like, trust you guys. That we do that all the time in life, where it's like we are making things harder for ourselves, and we are choosing to be afraid of everything and to not look for direction because we think that we're big kids and we can do it by ourselves. And we usually can't, and we kind of need help, and it's hard. And it doesn't mean it's not going to be hard. Maybe she'll still be scared, but then she can learn to, when she's scared, know where to look.
Yeah.
And I think that's what is important for us to do in our lives. That when we have these scared feelings, or we don't know what to do, or we're lost, that we can remember to look to God,
Yeah.
who loves us and wants us to have the easier road back
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
the more enjoyable one.
Yeah.
So that's awesome.
Mhm.
On another note of analogies, I have an awesome one to share today.
Oh, brave.
So probably I should share it.
Okay.
And guys, this is one Allie sent me like 2 or 3 weeks ago. And we've been needing to share it because it's a pretty good one. So everyone
Super
literally
true.
buckle in and get ready to hear this. Okay? I'm going to tell it to you like you've never heard it before. So be like really excited to like hear it for the first time and then be like, "Oh my gosh, that is like actually crazy and groundbreaking." Ready?
Okay, perfect. I'm ready.
Okay, here we go. So okay. Yep.
You got this,
Okay.
girl.
Yep, thank you so much. And thank you so much. Okay, so it's just like a very cute analogy. And basically it says, in a mother's womb there's 2 babies, and one turns to the other and says, "Do you believe in life after delivery?" And the other replies, "But of course. There has to be something after delivery. Maybe we're here to prepare ourselves for what will be later." "Nonsense," said the first. "There's no life after delivery. What kind of life would that be?" "I don't know," said the second, "but there will be more light than here. Maybe we'll walk with our legs and eat with our mouths. Maybe we'll have other senses we can't understand now." The first goes, "That's ridiculous. Walking is impossible and eating with our mouths. That's absurd. The umbilical cord is what scientifically provides nutrition and all that we need. But it's far too short. Life after delivery is to be logically excluded." The second says, "What if it's just different than it is here? Maybe we don't need that physical cord anymore." The first goes, "Okay, if there was life after delivery, then why has no one ever come back from there?" Delivery is the end of life, and in the after delivery, there is nothing but darkness and silence and oblivion. It takes us nowhere. And the second says, "But certainly we'll meet Mother, and she'll take care of us." And the first goes, "Mother? You actually believe in Mother? If Mother exists, where is she now?" And the second goes, "She's all around us. We are of her, and it is in her that we live. Without her, this world would not and could not exist." And the first says, "I don't see her. It's only logical that she's not here." To which the second replied, "Sometimes, when you're in silence and you really listen, you can perceive her presence. You can hear her loving voice calling down from above." I think it's freaking awesome. When I heard this, I was like, it's an analogy I've never heard before. And it's all obviously like silly, like a little conversation between like 2 people in a womb, okay? But it's like such a good analogy because
Yeah.
so many people have these thoughts of like, I love when it's talking about Mother, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, "You actually believe in Mother? I've never seen her. So she must not exist." And the other one's like, "She's all around us and in us. It's of her that we exist." And I just love it because I'm like, if you picture 2 babies in a womb, obviously they can't see what Mother looks like. Maybe they can see like organs and inner walls of the body, but they don't see a mother. And it's so interesting thinking about it as like us living in this world where we see trees and we see beautiful nature and all of these things, and we see other people, and we're like, well, like, I can't see God, so he must not exist. And the other one's like, he's all around us. It's of him that we exist. It's in him that we're here. And so I just think it's like a beautiful like perspective kind of change where we're like,
Yeah. I loved coming across that so much, and I think it is exactly that, right? Like, it is so important for us to remember, like, that in the same way that in the beginning of this, you can totally side with the one twin that's like, there's nothing after this. Like, nobody's ever come back with this.
from this.
Nobody's ever come back from this. Like, it doesn't exist. And that's just wishful thinking. But also, it's like, the reality of it is people are born. Everyone that's alive right now was in the position of whatever that is in the womb. And just because we can't remember having that experience, who's to say that there weren't some doubts about what this life would be before we got here? And yet we're here. And I think in the same way, yes, there might be some doubts about how things are going to work out within God's beautiful, wonderful, glorious plan. But one day we're going to find ourselves on the other side of it. And all that we will have to say is hallelujah. And all we will be able to do is give glory to a God who we trusted in, even though we couldn't see him. Because I think, honestly, like, believing and being brave enough to believe in a God like him is something that will fuel and set us apart in this life. And sometimes we don't want to be set apart. Sometimes it's easier to just be like everybody else and just live your normal, okay, mundane life. Live the life you were born with, right? And that's where I think it's cool too. We can tie that right back into my Jesus moment today. Yeah. But like the happiness and the joy and the promises that we've been given are built.
Yeah.
And we can be a part of building those beliefs within ourselves. And I just love that so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's cute too because in last week's episode we talked a little bit about how we don't necessarily know what it's going to look like exactly after this life, you know?
Yeah.
But the hopes that we can have and like the perspective that we can kind of have about how these babies even say like, I don't know what it will be like, but maybe we'll have legs and we can walk with them and we can eat with our mouths. And it's like fun to be like, I don't know what it's going to be like, but maybe it will be peaceful and wonderful and happy and we'll be with our families, you know? And it's just like hopeful and great to think about it that way.
And why wouldn't God be why wouldn't God provide this amount of glory and magnitude and wonder like when we've already seen him do so much good?
Yeah.
And I think that's what's awesome is if you've had any encounters with God up until this point, like that's your fuel to believe that if he's been good at all in the past for you, he can only become better.
Yeah.
And I'm just trying to find something right now. I'm not just trying to be a screenager here. But there's this thing I found on Instagram or some form of social media, like I want to say a few years ago. And it's this like slideshow comparing pictures of the earth to body parts of a human and like comparing like the lines that go all the way through roots of a tree, you know, or like through a trunk of a tree to wrinkles in our skin.
Cute.
And comparing like water droplets to cellulite. And comparing all of these things that are oftentimes like insecurities for humans to beautiful things within the earth. And I'm just trying to find it because I want you guys to see.
But that's a cool way to think. It actually, when you were saying that, reminded me of Moana. You know how there's like the mountain that's
Yep.
that's like dormant or it was like cursed or something in the first one. I haven't seen it in years, but all I remember is that they like revive it and it's like a sleeping woman or something on her side. And like when they revive it, she like wakens. The mountain is this woman and she like wakens and like there's flowers and it's like her hair and like the whole thing.
You're talking about I Lava You?
No. No idea.
Do you know what that is?
Yeah. Which is also very cute.
That one is...
But I think it was Moana. Anyway, let's move on past that because maybe I just got confused between two things.
Also, the Moana at the end of the movie, let me tell you this. At the end of the movie, spoiler for Moana if you haven't seen it, but come on. Come on. Anyways, seriously, no hate if you haven't seen it. I get it. Life happens, no problem. Anyways, Moana, end of the movie. There's like Tafiti.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, I think.
But the issue is it's alive. It's a monster.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it's a lava monster in the sea. And then they defeat Tafiti, and then she's just like a dead rock. Then they put the heart of Tafiti back in.
And then she becomes...
Then it turns into... Oh, I think that... Wait, she does become a woman, and then she lays down and then becomes the...
Yes.
There you have it.
So sorry about that, guys.
Oh my gosh, I found it.
Please.
This is electric. Okay, first of all, look at this.
I really am wondering / doubting if this is going to show up good. But I'm seeing a fingerprint.
What can I do here to make this better?
Anything but what you're doing right now, probably.
I think that's true.
I liked how you were just explaining them. How about you just explain them? Might be a little better than trying to show them.
Okay.
Just like explain a few of them to us or something.
Okay. Here's a cool one. Craters in the moon.
Yeah.
To a belly button.
Oh, that's adorable.
Yep. And here's another one. Stretch marks to lightning bolts. Rolls in our belly when we sit to waves in the ocean. Yeah, and here's another one. The little squiggly red veins in our eyes.
Yeah.
Lava. Like lava going through rocks and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
That one, let's see if I can show you, because that one's awesome.
Yeah. That is awesome.
Anyways.
But I like the idea, though, that it's like what we were talking about the babies seeing the inside of the body and not knowing that it's part of the human, you know? And that we can see nature and think that it's part of God. And we can even see nature and see that it's part of humans, which are part of God, made from God, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And that it's all just like a circle that God created all of these things.
Yeah.
And it kind of shows just like a little bit of God's character. The fact that he is like so much bigger and amazing than we could even imagine, and all encompassing and all loving and all knowing.
Yeah.
And I just love like learning more about God's character and thinking about who he is and what he's like.
Yeah. And I just love too the whole idea that like everything that is a living example and reminder of a loving God.
Yeah.
And I think too what's so wonderful about that is just remembering like that is all we need to know.
I was thinking of something this week. I heard this speech by this like young dad. His name's Robbie. He's like awesome. I love his insights. I think he's like just so cool. And he was talking about like the judgment day or like life after this and like what it's going to be like, right? And I actually really liked what he said because I hadn't thought about it that way, but he was just kind of talking about the fact that God is merciful and just, right? And the idea of like how both can exist at the same time kind of thing, you know? And he said, he was like, he was emphasizing this idea that is found in parables that Jesus told, like the prodigal son, where it's like, there's the son that took his inheritance early, left, spent it all, ends up coming back. And the dad could have been like, what does my son deserve right now? But instead of being like that, he was like, what does my son need? And this whole idea of like needs versus what they deserve. And we see it like with the Good Samaritan, where it's like the Samaritan comes upon this man on the street and he doesn't think, what does this man deserve? He thinks, oh my gosh, what does this man need? takes care of him, even though they're like from opposing cities or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And so he kind of was like sharing those examples, and then he was like, I don't think that the judgment day is going to be like God sitting there and being like, look at all these things you did wrong. Now, what do you deserve? What punishment do you deserve? He was like, I think it's going to be like a conversation with God where you guys discuss the things that happened in your life and the really hard, unfair things that happened and the sins and bad mistakes that you made, and where you feel together like this sorrow for the things that you maybe didn't do right. And then where God sits there and talks with you about what you need to be able to make it right, what you need to be able to understand those things and work through them and push past them and come into God's grace and love. And I was like, that is beautiful.
Yeah.
And I feel like it, like for me, more accurately depicts God's character as I have come to know him. Where it's like, sometimes the ideas just like clash in my head of like, I just don't understand how he could be like a wrathful, angry God. You know what I mean? Especially because he sent his son to atone and die for all of us. And so I'm like, he is merciful and loving. Jesus paid the price for us. We have to accept it. We have to feel that sorrow for the things that we did wrong. It's part of it all. But that he is going to, at the end of the day, look for and try to help us with what we need and not always what we deserve.
Mm-hmm. And that just like makes me want to really like remember for myself at least, like I don't want to wait until judgment day. I don't want to wait until this life is over to sit down and convene with God and ask him about what he thinks I need.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's wonderful is knowing that like even after this life ends, like we have a God that keeps going.
Yeah.
And who will never quit in giving us what we need and reminding us what we need. But I think what's this life if we spend it not trying to figure that out too?
Yeah.
And I think also like it just reminds me too, going back to just like nature and all of his creations and life and all of the things that like ultimately I think sometimes we get caught up in the fact that God is full of complexities, right? He's so multidimensional. There's so many things that make him complex, right? Like he could believe in justice, but also that he's merciful and that his grace and his willingness to save us and give us what we need exists. And I think we confuse sometimes his complexities for confusion.
Yeah.
And we get them mixed up, right? And we think that, oh, because he's so multidimensional and there's so many glorious and masterful things about him, that he is confusing. But when we remind ourselves of all of the ways that he shows up for us in our life and the way that like everything that exists is a reminder of him, I think it it makes all of his complexities truly simple.
Yeah.
In the way that it's like he's complex because a god like him would have to have a lot of different sides to be able to perfectly love and mercifully love all of his different children.
Yeah.
And so I think that's what simplifies it when we really can look at all of his creations, all of the people in the world, all of the nature, all of the creatures, all of the everything that he's created testifies that he is complex for his children.
I looked something up this week that was something I'd heard like years ago, and it's like about the attributes of God, and it's like the four omnis. I don't know if you've heard it, but it's omnipotence, omniscience, omnipresence, and omnibenevolence. okay? And they mean all powerful, all knowing, present everywhere, and all good.
Whoa.
And it's like how the kids in the womb are talking and they're like, I don't know what it's gonna be like, but I'm sure it's gonna be good. I hope it's good. Like, it's something that we probably can't understand right now until we're there, you know? And it's like when we hear all these things about God or about life after this life or trying to understand it all, our brains can't comprehend it right now. We probably won't be able to comprehend it until we're there, you know, until we can meet God face to face. But we can keep trying to learn more about Him and understand Him. And hearing things like this just make me like almost just like open my mind a little bit more to be able to be like, wow, all that God is and all that He stands for and all that He does is truly incredible and perfect. And He's all powerful and He's all knowing and He's present everywhere and He's all good. And it's like we just have to strive to be more like Him when we'll never get there, but we have to strive and put one foot in front of the other and know as we go through life that we can look up to Him, just like Missy the dog should, and receive His guidance.
Yeah. And ultimately, like, what kind of peace does that provide us at the end of the day when we can remember that even if our day was bad, even if our week was bad, even if our job feels bad, our living situation feels bad, our friendships feel bad, our relationship feels bad, we believe in a God who is all good all the time. And He is bigger than the biggest bads that we will face in our life.
Yeah.
And I think that that's a reason to make Him an everyday topic and to focus on Him and look for Him, especially on the bad days. And how comforting is that to remember that, like, we have the chance to let our lives be lightened a little bit when we choose to let His light in.
Yeah. So that's pretty special.
Yeah, so it's just like God's all around, and seriously, it's
And
awesome.
He loves us.
Yep.
Anyway, we love you guys.
He loves you more.
Have a great week.
We'll see ya. Bye.
Bye.